Welcome back to another edition of the Gridiron Review. Alongside Bill Wagner, I'm Pete Medhurst. Great to have you with us here. And as we put the youth football season to bed, teams playing in the All-Pro and some of our athletes playing in the AA County Elite level right now. And take a look at the great photo page the Capitol put together. And, of course, this week, tremendous job with the write-up of all of the games on Championship Saturday up at Chesapeake High School. You see Nash Avery down here, quarterback of the future. Probably, well, let's see. If he plays for Brooklyn, it means he's probably North County, Glen Burnie, somebody.
Think, yeah.
Or he might be a Spalding or Mount St. Joe, you know, St. Francis, who knows. But congratulations to all of our youngsters who had such a great championship day and are doing things right now. I know Josh Ehrlich and Cape's varsity U team, 16-6 winners in the All-Pro semifinals this week. They moved to the championship round coming up next week. And as for why he could be a future Bruin based on the Ehrlich's residence, current Bruins just ran out of steam. North Point, just a really good team. And again, as Rob Harris told you, before the Meade game earlier this year, they had some athletes on the North Point side who could match up with their outside receivers. And for one of the few times this year, that offense was stymied a little bit by North Point, who won 38-22. And of course, when you've got a Division I recruit playing over there at defensive back, that's going to help your cause.
Right. Well, the North Point coach took their Chellan Garnes as their outstanding deep back. He normally plays safety, kind of roams the field, but they knew Ethan Williams for Broadneck, who's got a West Virginia scholarship offer as a junior, is a big-time player and has been outstanding all season. They knew they had to shut him down, and so they moved Chellan Garnes over there to be Deion Sanders and play shutdown corner, and he did the job. He really blanketed Williams, and he had a big interception. And, 28 unanswered points. Obviously, the defense, Broadneck's defense has been their calling card for years, and it just kind of let down in this game. Rob Harris blamed himself a little bit. Said that he didn't feel like he called a good game offensively. Just thought a few calls here and there. He said they could never get into an offensive rhythm. This is a shame to see the season end. A great season. They are 11-0 going into the game. Shame to see the season end on a sad note.
Yeah, but you know what, and that tells you a lot about Rob Harris. Good coaches do put it on themselves.
That's right.
They find a way to, challenge themselves to make their student athletes a lot better. And still doesn't mean that Rob and them didn't have a great season. Another fantastic year for the Broadneck Bruins. And obviously with a guy like Williams coming back, they're going to be another team probably at the top of the list to watch as next year gets started. And for a lot of those teams, it's already started with weightlifting and all of the other stuff that has become such a staple of the offseason now in the high school ranks. When we come back, Bill and I will talk about our trip to South Bend where it rained and it rained and it rained some more. But the Mids held their own with number 8 Notre Dame. We'll talk about that when we return on the Gridiron Review. How about Maryland and Navy this week? They traveled to the great northern frontier, shall we say. Now, Maryland kept going to Michigan. They ran into some snow. We were fortunate. We were only in Indiana where it was around 40 degrees, but the rain was blowing, and it was just a miserable day. But Navy and Notre Dame gave us a really good football game, 24-17. 8th-ranked Irish come out on top, and ironically, Bill, the Mids had plenty of opportunities to win the game, held the ball for 42 of 60 minutes in this contest, and just needed one more play and couldn't quite get it on Saturday.
Almost a replica of last year. Last year, Navy limited Notre Dame to 6 possessions. This year, technically, Notre Dame had 9 possessions. One of them was a fumbled punt. I didn't know that they consider that a possession when you don't even actually get the ball.
College scoring rule, foolish college scoring rule.
And then, of course, their 9th possession was a couple kneel downs to clock, run out the clock. So really, they only had 7 offensive possessions, which is the Navy game plan. Dominate the possession, keep the ball out of the hands of an outstanding offense. And, you couldn't have asked for anything better for Navy. Their problem is they couldn't finish drives. They had a missed field goal. Zach Abey threw an interception deep in Notre Dame territory. They had to settle for a field goal and another. So, you got to finish drives with touchdowns. You talk about that, and they didn't do it in this instance. But it was a great game, and as you mentioned, at one point, looking out of the press box in Notre Dame Stadium, and the wind was 40 miles an hour at times, the blowing sideways rain, not good conditions. You got to give credit for both teams to weather the storm, literally. But a great game. I thought the Mids played well. That was one of the better games I thought Navy played this year.
Yeah, it was a nice bounce back and a good bounce back for Zach Abey in that game, too. Missed last week against SMU due to injury and really gave a great account of himself. He and Anthony Gargiulo both rushing for 87 yards. Maryland, meanwhile, just not enough offense. I mean, you hold Michigan State to 17 points, you give yourself a chance. But, when you're down to, in this case, Max Bortenschlager played, so you're technically playing with your fourth quarterback at that point, and you're just limited on offense. They got down to the red zone late in the ball game, had a chance to cut it to a one-score game, could not punch it in and fall 17-7. But, for Maryland, a team that's been, so beat up as this season goes along, again, still playing hard at this point in the season for DJ Durkin, which is a good sign.
Right. Well, actually, they ended up pulling Bortenschlager in that game. They went with Ryan Brand, the walk-on from Air Force. Just felt like they needed a spark. Max did not have one of his better games, so they ended up yanking him and going to the fifth-string quarterback.
But Bortenschlager was back on the field late in the fourth quarter.
He came back in?
Yeah, late in the fourth quarter, trying to rally them in the snow. They showed DJ Moore and one of the Michigan State defensive backs. They go down, and they went sliding in their uniforms, of course, all snow-covered and wet and everything. It was just a wacky day in East Lansing weather-wise.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. The offense, and it's a shame. This season is kind of spiraled out of control for Maryland, and they will not be going to a bowl now. That's assured. And they finished the season on another tough ball game against a ranked opponent. This is actually that is the one positive. This is the toughest they have played a ranked Big Ten opponent during the DJ Durkin era. So going on the road and giving a good account, there is some moral victory there, but it just goes to show what you're facing when you're trying to turn around a program like Maryland. And Randy Edsall, after 5 years did not leave the cupboard very full. I mean, you're seeing DJ Durkin having to really restore some depth. He's had a couple great recruiting classes, another one on the way. So, but I think Maryland's at least 2 years away from being any kind of contender in the Big Ten.
Yeah, just because the teams in their division especially are just really good on the eastern side. Maybe if they were in the west, they could rebuild a little bit faster. We come back, Ravens shut out the Packers with a big effort. The Redskins somehow blow a 15-point lead with 6 minutes to go. We'll talk about that when we return on the Gridiron Review. Welcome back. The Ravens get Green Bay at a good time. No Aaron Rodgers, no offense for the Pack, 23-0 in what was probably one of the more complete efforts for the Baltimore Ravens this year. Not that they were great offensively, but they didn't do anything to hurt themselves. Joe Flacco, no turnovers in this contest. And with that defense, if you don't put them in bad spots with turnovers, more often than not, you're going to get the kind of results you did on Sunday for Baltimore.
Well, this is the defense that people expected to see all season, and they've had their moments. That was the third shutout of the season for the Ravens. It's just there's been some other head scratchers where the defense didn't play nearly as well as you would have thought. Now Brandon Williams makes a big difference. Having the big boy up front, he stops the run and forces you to throw. And Green Bay quarterback is not exactly the most effective passer. 3 interceptions. They miss Aaron Rodgers big time. And that's, the Ravens are fortunate. They're going to be playing the Houston Texans with a backup quarterback as well, Tom Savage. I mean, so.
And then you get Cleveland again. So they've got a chance to walk themselves into a wild card spot here.
Unbelievably so.
Well, the AFC's terrible.
Right. But no, I mean, it's tremendous. And I'm going to next Monday night Houston game. I was going to be there at M&T Bank Stadium. I go to one Ravens game a year, and that's the one. And, I was thinking that when this game was first scheduled, when I decided to go there, this would be a meaningless game. The Ravens out of playoff contention. But now, looky here. Ravens could do some things.
It's going to be like field goal kicking. It's going to be a field goal special, 12-9 Baltimore in the end. Though Houston played halfway decent yesterday But again, when you've got to play the Browns again, you got to play the Bengals again, and you're competing for a playoff spot, that's advantage Ravens in the wild card race here going forward.
They could easily get to 9 wins.
Easily, very easily. All you got to do is go, let's see, 4-2 the rest of the way?
Yep, 4-2
the math adds up. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Redskins up 31-16. Looked like it was in the bag. Unfortunately, the bag, as it does happen sometimes, breaks open at the bottom. Here come the Saints back, and they eventually win it at overtime 34-31. May be as big a crushing loss in the Jay Gruden era just because Dallas had lost again. You're fighting to try and stay in the wild card hunt. Now you're 3 games back, and you're pretty much eliminated from postseason play, even though mathematically you're still alive. But just a crushing loss for a Redskins team. Scores 31 points against one of the best teams in the NFC, yet loses on the road.
Right, and they lost another great, but Chris Thompson, the outstanding tailback who's been so key this year, broken leg, he's done for the year, and just that injury list keeps piling up for the Redskins. I will give them that. Not many teams in the NFL have had to suffer as many key injuries as the Redskins, but, I mean, this is just terrible. They had beaten Seattle. They're a weird team. They seem to play up and down in the competition. They've lost to teams you would not expect them to lose to. And then
beat the Rams on the road, beat the Seahawks on the road.
And came this close to beating the Saints. So they're playing well with good teams, but that is a killer. And I got to turn back to you, Pete. 3rd and 1, if they convert the first down, they can run out the clock, game over. What did you think of the call to Samaje Perine to get that first down?
I love Perine, but I don't love the play call. Guy ran for over 100 yards, but guess what? What do the New England Patriots do on 3rd and 1, Bill?
Tom Brady usually sneaks
Quarterback sneak.
Yes.
It's a very simple play. Kirk Cousins take the snap, follow Spencer Long or Chase Roulier forward, and let's get the yard, and the game is over at that point.
Well,
why you would risk a handoff and then you just run him to where, I mean, the Saints had 2 guys that came unblocked off the edge, and the play had no chance. Slow developing play. Nothing works worse if you're a youth football coach, if you're a high school coach, if you're anybody out there. Short yardage.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Right.
Anything that takes forever to run is going to be stopped.
Right. Well, let me ask you, though, I mean, obviously on social media, since that loss, the play calling, I mean, how much of this
It's
loss
not the play calling,
do you
though.
put on the
They
coaching
scored
staff?
31 points. On the offensive staff, I don't put it on them at all. Defensive staff, we've got to find a way to stop those guys. I mean, they just ran right through them like a colander with broken holes in it and went, down the field. Mark Ingram, 2 big plays, runs down the field, bang, game over.
Yeah.
Game
it's
over.
just so
That can't happen.
No.
That can't happen.
Well, I was going to ask you real quick, but we'll go back to our opening, the All-Pro State Championships. That's kind of a new advent, and it's kind of neat because the county championship used to be the culmination, and that was it for a youth football team. But now our county champions are invited, and in doing the wrap-up for the Capitol that I wrote that ran in this past Saturday's edition, we had a wrap-up of all the championships at the highest level for each weight class, and all the coaches were saying, we're practicing for the All-Pro State Championships. We're really excited.
I think it's an interesting concept. A lot of the rules, though, in some of the leagues don't jive. So actually some of the AAYFA teams are at a disadvantage because they're playing as weighted teams in the youngers against teams that are just playing by number, 8 and under, 9 and under. So those kids can be a little bit bigger than our 70 and our 80-pound teams. But our teams have held their own at those levels. And as we've mentioned earlier, Cape's on to the state championship. I know our good friend Brian Aiken, a graduate of Southern High, has got his UQA team in the state championship. They beat Leonardtown 27-6 this past week. So it's an interesting concept. And I know
Now, that's all done privately. Anne Arundel
Yes,
County
we got
Recreation
nothing to do
Parks
with
does
that.
not sponsor that.
They rent our facilities. Like I know one of them, I believe, is at Meade this weekend. They rent our facilities, so they pay to do that. We've got nothing to do with it, but we do say yay and support our teams as they go there. And I think what you have to be aware of, and I think Chris Sexton and some of our board members have been very good at what postseason things that they align our teams with to making sure that it's not just a quick money grab, which we see. Look, I'm telling you right now, here's especially if you're a high school athlete, the 2 things you need to do most as a high school athlete. You don't need to go to any of these combines or any of these other things, these people that tell you they're doing Nike Spark training and timing and all that other stuff. You don't need to go to that stuff. 2 things you need. You need film, which you can get from your high school coach at any time. Send your DVD to any college football team in the country. Alabama, Alabama State, it doesn't matter. Send it to whoever you think you want to go to, and go to that team's football camp. Those are the only 2 things you need to do.
If they like you on film, then they want to see you in person to make sure that what they saw on film is legit. Yeah, I saw on social media this past week, they now have a service that will name you an All-American even just by paying money.
Right.
You can now pay money to be an All-American, Pete.
Just take your DVD, send it to whatever, make copies, send it to whatever college you want to attend. If they think you're good enough, they'll contact you or your coach. And the best thing to do is go to that school's football camp. Look, we're around this stuff all the time. We're telling you how this works.
Right, it's easy.
Coaches tell you all the time. We saw a guy at our camp. We didn't know a lot about him, but he came to our camp, and we were blown away, and they end up offering the scholarship right on the spot.
That's right.
That's all it takes. Don't go out here spending all this miscellaneous cash on combines and all this other stuff.
Does you no good.
Does you absolutely no good. Your film and going to a team's football camp is all you need to do here as you get set for your off-season training.
Well put, Pete.
We're always here to help. That'll do it for us here for the Gridiron Review. I want to thank Mark, Mike, all the guys here at Anne Arundel County Football Studios all year long who have made it easy for us to stop on by, throw on a couple of microphones, and talk about all the great football in Anne Arundel County. Until next year, for Bill Wagner, I'm Pete Medhurst. Thanks for joining us this season on the Gridiron Review.